without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the virtual stage Emile Olckers, Associate Director at Supply Chain Partner, looking after Coupa operations in the African and European regions. Hi, Emile.
Hi there. Hi, everyone.
Yeah, good. All right, Emile. Gartner recently stated, and I quote, there will be a tsunami of SAP S/4HANA adoption between 2021 and 2023. So with that in mind, can you speak to some of the challenges that companies might face when they need to migrate or upgrade ERPs from a Coupa perspective, and then specifically relating to SAP ECC to S/4HANA? If you can speak to that, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. So I think let's maybe start with kind of the generic challenges you have between ERPs, and then there's a couple of things I can highlight from a SAP point of view. So I think first off, it depends very much on the type of migration upgrade you are planning to do. So when you look at upgrading your ERPs, it could be from one ERP brand to another one, which obviously poses a lot more challenges because the changes related to that might be considerably more than if you are upgrading from one version of an ERP to the next. But no matter which one of those, the kind of generic challenges that I'd say there's a lot of them you face, but the ones that I would call the silent killers are probably 3 or 4 that people often miss or do not pay enough attention to in the beginning. And by the time these challenges become apparent, it's often difficult to, at that point, address. So I'm going to touch on those today. And we'll start with the first one. I think that is the lack of ownership or buy-in in an ERP migration. So that basically there can be a lot of causes for that. So because an ERP touches almost every business area in your organization, chances are really good that you're going to have some goals that are misaligned between the different areas. So there will be expectations of what this ERP could bring that will differ across your business. And obviously, there's going to be some compromises to be made because you've got requirements and expectations on the one side and you've got budget on the other side. And it's very, very few times, or in very few cases, all requirements can be met with a budget that's available at that point in time. So all these things kind of contribute to people not wanting to take ownership of an ERP implementation or migration, or not wanting to participate because they feel that it's a lot of effort that's going to be taken, or that they have to put in, and there's a responsibility they need to take to not necessarily get all the advantages that they are envisaging of getting out of the system. I think the last factor that also plays a role in ownership or taking ownership of an implementation is your actual capacity and skills in your team. So if an organization feels that they do not have capacity to have people do their day job and then sufficiently contribute to a large project like an ERP migration or upgrade, or they might not have the skills to contribute valuable information, they tend to often want to push the responsibility or the ownership almost onto the implementers and the suppliers that provide or that kind of run through these migrations. And that's kind of, I think, the 3 main reasons why you would struggle with a lack of ownership across the different business areas in your organization. Then the second challenge that normally surprises or often surprises a company down the line is the extent of the effort that goes into preparing data. So that's cleansing and enriching data, and then also migration of data. So once you get to master data, things like suppliers and items and so forth, that might be relatively straightforward, but getting to open transactions, purchase orders, and different statuses of, and I'm just referring here to procurement data, that's not even looking at the rest of the business. But transactional data often have a lot more complications that you need to deal with, and it's almost on a detail level. So there's not always a general principle you can apply across to sort out the issues that you encounter. And as a result, it often takes a lot longer than you would expect it to. And then I suppose the last biggest challenge outside of the standard technical things that you get would be new features and functions that come with the new ERP. So that sounds a little bit funny, or it could sound strange when we talk about it being a challenge. But the reason is that often with a new function and feature, the way that the system used to work also gets impacted, or the old process also gets impacted. So you might now have to change the way that you do something going into your new ERP, no matter if you want to use a new function or feature, because the old way of doing something has also been changed to cater for this new functionality that you've been given an option to use. When we look at SAP specifically, I'd say, I think there's probably people on this call that know a lot more about the SAP implications than I do from a generic point of view, but at least from a procurement point of view, I'd say, again, the three main things would be that definitely certain data structures in SAP, has changed. Sorry for the SAP guys, it's SAP, force of habit, but it's basically, as an example, you have suppliers and customers that have in SAP S4 have gone into one business object called business partners. And so the data structures has changed, and you need to cater for the way you handle that specific object moving across. So that can't be a like for like move. The next thing is customizations. We know SAP is well renowned for customization. So organizations write a lot of code and things we call user exits, etc., to cater for their way of doing things in the SAP ERP. When you then have to move across or migrate to S4, all these need to be reevaluated and challenged. And if they need to be taken across, there needs to be, or there might be some development changes required with all that goes with that to make it work in the new environment. And then the last one from an SAP point of view is Fiori. So that is a new functionality that comes with S4 that if you select to use, might change the way that you configure certain things, because you would have a combination of configurations in Fiori and in your SAP platform that now will cater for functionality that you used to have only in the platform. So there's a different way of thinking about that and what you apply and what you don't apply.